Hello and welcome to This Week in Erie. Of course, this week we will see the inauguration of the 46th President of the United States, President-elect Joe Biden. Things are going to look a little different this year, so we decided to have a discussion with Dr. Jim Wertz, a professor of journalism at Edinburgh University, about some of the things that are going to be different. Not only are we dealing, Jim, with COVID issues, we have security issues. It seems like the perfect I guess, exclamation point on the past year we've had, the kind of inauguration we're going to see. If you could, though, please, what are some of the big differences we're going to see in terms of the inauguration this Wednesday?
Well, I think it's an important punctuation on the last 4 years, not even just the last year with COVID and all of the other issues that we've experienced as a society. This inauguration was always going to look different. The challenge here, of course, in the midst of a global pandemic was how many people were going to be able to ever gather at the mall. And now with the security concerns that were raised after January 6th and the insurrection at the Capitol, that was answered by the Secret Service and the Capitol Police, the National Park Service, when they closed down the National Mall. So it will be a very intimate ceremony and an installation of President-elect Biden as he takes the reins with Kamala Harris, and we will see socially distanced, of course, members of Congress, members of the House and Senate, each being invited to bring a single guest with them. So what would normally be an invite list of 20,000 or more, in addition to all of the throngs of people who would show up from across the country. This one is going to be particularly quiet, but I don't think really any less celebratory for Joe Biden and his supporters.
Well, we always see, and I mean, I watching these, I can't even think how far back. Inauguration Day is always something, I guess, for people who are political junkies who just like to see this transition of power. That shot with all the former presidents sitting there shoulder to shoulder, and the faces, even the outgoing president joining in. We know that President Trump will not be there, but all the other remaining presidents, aside from Jimmy Carter, will be taking part, correct?
As far as I know.
And so what are we expecting in terms of, when I was thinking about this too, you always wait for that moment where the incoming president arrives at the White House to have coffee and the shake. And, you remember seeing President Obama hand over the reins to then President-elect Trump. Those are also some traditions we are not going to see this year. Again, just adding to the list, the parade. What do you think this day is going to look like in terms of the inauguration itself?
Well, I think to the extent possible, they're still going to attempt to make it a day of celebration. We have folks like Lady Gaga singing the Star Spangled Banner, and going all the way into the evening, where there are going to be concerts that are going to be broadcast on national TV as part of the pomp for this event. I don't know that even if we didn't have the global pandemic, even if we didn't have the security concerns, that we would see the same kind of transition that we've seen previously. Even the transition between President Obama and then President-elect Trump was somewhat tepid by comparison to previous transition moments, and that was in part because Donald Trump came in as a defiant president, eschewing mainstream traditions, and certainly he is going out eschewing mainstream traditions as well. And so I don't know that we would have had what we would consider to be a normal handover, even if we didn't have the pandemic and all of the security concerns that go along with this event now in the wake of last week's activities.
Well, and it makes, remember back to when the rumor when President Clinton left office and they took all the W's off the computers. Remember that? Back when that seemed so tragic.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think there are always these rumors that circulate when a president leaves the White House that there was some kind of prank that goes on, and certainly the things that we've experienced in the last couple of weeks as this administration winds down, whether that be the removal of artifacts from the White House that have been captured in some press photos, or whether that be the insurrection and acts of treason at Congress are all things that were really unconceivable and immeasurable by any historical context. So yeah, we always hear those stories of an outgoing administration. We can trust that for the most part those are wholly untrue. But this seems to be a particular moment where the future of democracy, the future of the democratic process, rests really with the incoming administration and not so much with the outgoing administration. And I think that is a real turn and something that the folks who are alive right now and paying attention to what's happening, Republican or Democrat, not something that any of us will soon forget.
And finally, too, so January 20th, the inauguration. What happens January 21st? What do you see happening as far as, obviously, we've heard President-elect Biden speak about COVID and his plan for that. What do you think is going to happen come January 21st in terms of what we get out of the White House?
Well, listen, I don't think this administration is going to wait until January 21st. I think come noon on January 20th, some of the folks in the Biden transition team that have already been named to the administration are going to get to work right away. Number one on their list, as you said, is dealing with COVID-19, dealing with the pandemic. And now we have a new strain of COVID coming inside American borders as well. So it will be imperative that this gets handled well. We've seen some disputes or misinformation from this administration from the Trump administration, that is, about using the second shots to help fill out and make sure that enough people are getting vaccinated with the first shot. The governor of California is now saying that those shots are not available to him. The administration is kind of changing their tact. Oh, well, we didn't really mean that, or we said something different when we said it. And so I think the first thing that this administration is going to have to do is to truly take inventory of what America's resources are to fight this pandemic, and then begin to prepare and move forward. Certainly, President-elect Biden has set forth an aggressive agenda to vaccinate 100 million people in his first 100 days in office. That is going to be a significant task by any measure. We hope that he gets there. It would be great for the country as a whole. But beyond the pandemic and beyond kind of getting our hands around this virus, we've also got a huge economic problem to fix. And part of that economic problem is caused by the pandemic, of course, and part of that was caused by the instability of the last 4 years. We've heard a lot about a Biden infrastructure plan, and I think that's going to be the number two, or maybe we call them 1A and 1B, two high priority items. And if we can get a strong infrastructure package through Congress, maybe in the first year, if not in the first year, certainly in the first 2 years, that I think America will be well on its way to a much more secure future, with millions more Americans working and getting back to work after the pandemic.
Well, no doubt, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 100 days, the next year, the next 4 years. We never thought we'd see what happened in the past year, or like you said, in the past several years. So, Dr. Jim Wertz, thank you so much, Professor of Journalism at Edinburgh University. We, as always, appreciate your expertise, not only on the journalistic side, but also the political side as well. Thank you for talking to us today.
You got it. Thank you, Jill.
And that does it for This Week in Erie.